This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great long weekend, dealing with a bit of a lockdown, but fired up for some playoff hockey. We've got Game 3 tonight of the Jets-Oilers series downtown at Bell MTS Place here in Winnipeg. And that means it's time for a special Sunday afternoon playoff edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Great to have you with us. I'm Andrew Paterson, your host, along with the CTO, Michael Remis. Coming up in a few minutes, Ryan Brandt, our old pal from their TSN 1290 days, is going to join us to talk about Connor Hellebuck's performance so far in this season, get his thoughts on the 2-0 lead for Winnipeg. And then we'll find out how the Jets have been doing it. And we'll dive into the great hockey mind of our pal JP Vigier. JP coming up over the course of probably be on for about the next hour, I'd say. A little bit of an abbreviated show, but certainly wanted to get on the air today for you to talk Jets-Oilers before tonight's Game 3. As always, we're brought to you by our great family of sponsors, Not Autocorp, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, the Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Little Brown Jug Brewing, Assiniboia Downs. Don't forget, opening day is tomorrow at the track for live racing, albeit with no fans. Breezy Bend Country Club, Aikens Lake, and Cool Bet Canada will hit the lines for the NHL action a little bit later on. Let's get right to it and welcome in my guy Michael Remis. Remo, how's the weekend going so far? Pretty uneventful outside of a huge win for the local hockey side.
It's wet. It's a wet one. That's all I got to say about the long weekend. Staying inside, not going anywhere, maybe squeezing a walk in, getting some fresh air so I don't go nuts. But yes, thankfully we have this Jets game to look forward to. Great to see everyone in chat. A lot of the people who are during the week have ventured in here on a Sunday surprise show. Nothing. Someone tweeted at us, so nothing going on and on the long weekend, so you're going live. I'm like, yep, basically,
pretty much.
What are we gonna do? That Friday game was so amazing. The Jets winning in overtime. And how could we not go on? We have to talk about this because
I'd love to hear from everybody in the chat, and we'll get into this right now as to where how they remembered the OT winner, because I'm sure it was the same for you. I was sitting by myself in a room wondering what the hell do you do to celebrate when you're solo. So I just ended up going up to the balcony and yelling walnuts for about,
Did you?
Oh yeah, straight out walnuts. I think like a lot of people was pretty fired up. I mean, Paul Stastny, Remo, I think I was talking about the Logan Stanley take from early on as being the best Winnipeg Sports Talk take. The new contender for best take on this program might be the TSN turning point of the entire season being the silver stick ceremony and the two little mini sticks to the young Stastnys, because from then on, being led by Mr. 1000, the Jets have been a heck of a lot better. And I really do think back to his speech after, what was it, the Edmonton game, the 6-1 game, about kind of looking themselves in the mirror and turning around. Anyways, he's been such a big part of it. What a moment. A big moment in Winnipeg Jets history. The worst thing about it was there were no fans, but people are fired up, as they should be, as the Jets have managed to come back from Edmonton up 2-0. How do you remember the winning goal?
Yeah, and I know a lot of people in chat are asking, Ehlers is in. And Ehlers was the one on this program who said Paul Stastny was the smartest player he's played with. And you saw the brain power of number 25 on Friday. Nice zone entry. He's off to the side. He saw Mike Smith getting screened by former Jet Dmitry Kulikov. I think was Bear in there as well. Anyways, he saw the screen, flicked a shot to the net. And again, I was sitting there being like, man, this would be so much more fun watching with people, being able to celebrate. But as soon as that puck went in, I mean, you're so surprised that a shot like that went in. And when they needed it, getting the 2-0 lead so huge. And I screamed. I was like, oh! I was like going nuts. Thankfully, didn't wake anyone up. I don't know how in the house. But I tweeted out, I'm like, oh my God, I just screamed like so loud alone in my basement. And everyone is tweeting at me. I got a ton of comments saying, oh, I just woke up my dog. Woke up my wife. She's not happy. Woke up the kids. I went outside. Someone tweeted I went outside, so I didn't wake up anyone. I don't know. That was just like your instant reaction, seeing that puck go in there. Because there was no when you see like a one-timer, you can kind of anticipate, okay, this puck is going to end up going in or has a really good chance. But you're like, okay, yeah, Stastny doesn't have much of a play. Just do the smart thing in OT, slap it on, or, do a quick wrister on net. Float it in there. I mean, it was just he said he saw it, so it was awesome. Well done. And we haven't even touched on, all the great shot blocking. The defense did such a good job.
Paying the price.
And it was Dylan DeMello putting on his back with the hands in the air, blocking one from McDavid. That just summed up the night.
No, that the hand of God, as Murat Atesh referred to it in the post-game scrum. Maybe the most memorable save. And we're talking so much about Connor Hellebuck and how brilliant he's been. But that could be a save people will be talking about for a long time around these parts. Great to see everyone joining us on this impromptu show in the chat. There, I see our friends at Assiniboia Downs are here. What's up, ASD? Can't wait for tomorrow. Live racing beginning. And, of course, for tomorrow, as well as every live racing day, it's going to start Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 6:45. Kirk and the boys get things fired up in the ASD live show beforehand to give us some ideas of who we should be betting on. Remis and I are going to be going head-to-head with some daily wagers at hpibet.com. So if you want to get ready for opening day, you can do it right now. hpibet.com, get that account ready, and tomorrow they'll be going to the post at 7:20 p.m. for the first of 50 live racing dates this year at Assiniboia Downs. Do want to thank our friends at Knott Auto Corp. Why not get into the vehicle of your dreams at a great price with the help of the Knott team, and they'll even help you consign your present vehicle. Find out more at Waverly and McGillivray or visit them online at knott.ca. And Remo, before we get to Ryan, we got to give a big shout out to DQ Nick. A great performance in the marble race, finishing a close second to the Sheriff, Gregory Liverpool. And a congratulations to Greg, too, who did pick up the cake yesterday and in ultimate GFL fashion came with an amazing tweet showing that it was buckled up in the back seat and Greg treating his victory, to quote him, like the Stanley Cup. You love to see it.
I gotta find this thing. Oh, here it is. Let me just pull up this picture. We had a great week of DQ giveaways. And Benji won the cake on Wednesday, iPhone Benj. I posted that on our Instagram. So if you're not following us on Instagram, you can see the wheel spin and the picture of the winner with the cake. And I will get on our Instagram a picture of G Liverpool, Gregory, with his cake. Hold on, I gotta bring it up here. I'm trying to figure it out.
If anybody has met Greg before, he's the best, but he also has a special way of announcing victories, and the swag level is off the charts right now. Yeah. There he is, the GFL.
It's the cake. Like buckled into the backseat. That is some precious.
Read the
cargo.
tweet. Read the tweet too, Reem, because it's amazing.
Treating the first ever Winnipeg Sports Talk Nicky DQ victory like the Stanley Cup. # always number one. So
that's the best. That's the best.
That's pretty good.
Greg and I were going at it with Gary Lawless yesterday on Twitter in the aftermath of this.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that was a hell of a lot of fun. So thanks again. I think there may be a DQ run this afternoon or tomorrow before one of these two games. Try the Drumstick Blizzard. Everyone's talking about it. Nick has told me it is the best. All right, we've got JP Vigier coming up in a few minutes, but let's welcome in our good friend, one Ryan Brandt, to the program. RB, a very happy individual right now, I'm sure, because word on the street is that you went in to your annual playoff draft with from back in your home parts, which is Leaf Country, and the Leafs' healthy scratches were all getting picked before the Jets, and even though there hasn't been a ton of offense so far, you got to feel good about the Jets if you're in a playoff pool right now. What's going on?
Yeah, that's right, Hudson. While I appreciate the fact that I had some friends giving a shout out to Winnipeg's Adam Brooks when fifth round comes around and Blake Wheeler is still available, and I've already scooped up Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. I thought, I think I might have to dive in a little bit more into this one in the same round where Jason Spezza and Justin Hall went, Hustler. So it just shows where Ontarians maybe are at on the Jets' chances in the series, but it works out for me just fine. That Jets top line, couple of empty netters in game one, padding my stat line early on. Those are tough pools. If anyone else is in big time pools, it's sometimes tough to figure out where you're going to be making your picks because most of the love goes to the same teams. I think the entire Avs roster went.
Well, and I'll tell you what, a team like Winnipeg that was maybe a little bit slept on that now has a very good chance of moving on to that second round. I mean, it could be great. Well, we'll have lots of time to figure in, really, I don't pay too close attention till the end of the first round. I said, okay, how many guys do you have left? Who's still there? Who's going forward? But as far as this series goes, Ryan, the Jets are up 2-0. Not a lot of people had that. And I will say this with the caveat, these games have been incredibly close. It's not like it has been complete domination by Winnipeg. It could be 1-1. Heck, it probably could be 2-0 on the other side, were it not for Connor Hellebuck's continued brilliance and a Jets team that is defending and playing with a commitment to defending with that five-man unit, unlike anything we saw in the regular season. What have you thought about the first two games?
Well, I think it's amazing to just see the way that the depth has come out to play so far in this series and what Logan Stanley is able to do, and just adding in someone who's big, has that reach, and is making smart decisions. He's made it a very easy choice for Paul Maurice to keep playing him in that pairing with Tucker Pullman, and that makes his job easy. Seeing Dominic Toninato probably out tonight, right, again with Nikolai Ehlers jumping back in, is kind of funny to see because of how great he's played since actually getting a chance to be a part of this Jets team. They have a lot of depth. I think that was where, if you were looking at the Oilers and the Jets and you say, well, you have Draisaitl and McDavid on the other side, the Jets' advantage is they have Connor Hellebuck, and by the looks of things, a much deeper team, which added Pierre-Luc Dubois in game 2 and now adds Nikolai Ehlers in game 3. That speaks to maybe the depth advantage the Jets have, and we'll see what the Oilers try and do to counter it. I know Paul Maurice was mentioning he's expecting them to throw a lot at the Jets, and probably a busy night for Connor Hellebuck ahead.
Well, and speaking of that, the Oilers have shaken, apparently the way it's looking coming out of the morning skate, have significantly shaken up the lineup. James Neal, Alex Chason, who killed the Jets at times in the regular season, out, and Dominic Cahoon, who was in the top 6 at the beginning. They're all out. Shore's coming in, Haas is coming in, and Tyler Ennis is coming in. So it seems like they're going to try and add a bit more speed to the lineup, Ryan. But again, I'm not sure how much it matters if you're, moving the deck chairs around in the bottom 6 for the Oilers, because as long as Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are playing together on that top line, the Jets have a pretty clear mission on who they need to stop.
Yeah, and it shows just kind of what a different setup the Oilers have compared to the Jets. When Dominic Cahoon's flanking Ryan Nugent-Hopkins one night and out of the lineup the other night, that would be unheard of for Winnipeg to be pulling someone out of their top 6 or even their top 9. But I think a lot of the credit so far for shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl goes to the work the Jets defensemen have been doing, but also I think we're starting to see a really active Blake Wheeler, and that whole the right-hand side of the Jets has just been able to dominate the other flank for the Oilers so far in this series. We've seen some good work from Wheeler. I think Mason Appleton's been really good at times too to kind of help out on that line. And now you have 2 really solid shutdown options to face the McDavid or the Draisaitl group tonight when Ehlers comes back in and Kopp gets bumped back down with Adam Lowry.
Yeah, the return of Ehlers, let's talk about that for a minute, because it was interesting. And I mean, I don't know how much to take at face value with some of these interviews that we're getting right now, both from players and coaches. I believe it was said that, Ehlers wanted to come back in game 2, but Maurice didn't want to put them both in the same game. And hey, listen, I'm not going to argue. They got the win right now, and I think, big picture, the extra couple days of rest, I think probably, especially with the shoulder injury as we suspect, probably gives Ehlers a better chance of getting back in closer to 100%, staying healthy. But man, Ryan, you think about how different that second line looks today with Dubois and Ehlers as opposed to Vesalainen and Kopp, and the fact that the Jets are in the situation they're in. Huge opportunity tonight to make the most of the opportunity at home, the last change. And here's a question for you, I guess, as it relates to Ehlers. Now that Maurice does have the last change, I would imagine that the Connor McDavid Draisaitl job will be focused on Adam Lowry and Mark Scheifele's line. Could be some pretty juicy matchups for that second line put back together for tonight's game.
Yeah, and especially with Pierre-Luc Dubois getting yet another game under his belt, and we all saw what he did in the playoffs last year for the Columbus Blue Jackets. With Ehlers, too, and I know that the series against Calgary last year in the bubble did not go great for the Winnipeg Jets, but one good thing maybe you take out of it, if you're Nikolai Ehlers or if you're a Jets fan expecting to see what he can do in this series, it's the fact he got the monkey off his back last year. So it's not like he's coming in off of an injury and we're talking about how he can't score in the playoffs. He's proved that he can. And we're going to get to see an example of it tonight. And as you mentioned, with the way Paul Stastny is going, and as I said, with Pierre-Luc Dubois getting another game in, I think it could be a good night for Ehlers to get settled and get some good touches on the puck and have a lot of the attention being put on the Jets' top line and the third line instead of that second unit, which is has an opportunity to really buzz around the offensive zone.
I'd be remiss if we didn't mention the fourth line, because in these two games, I mean, first things first, Nate Thompson assisted on the first and second goals, the tying and the winning goal in the first game. And then again, Ryan, we saw 5 minutes left in the game, 0-0. And Coach Paul Maurice not too concerned about having his fourth line out at times against the McDavid line. And that is almost inconceivable if you think about prior fourth lines for the Winnipeg Jets, maybe outside of the 2018 playoff run.
Yeah, there's potential for them to start to find some improvements in the faceoff circle. It hasn't gone so well in the first two games, but when you go kind of down that middle group for the Jets with Lowry and Stastny and Nate Thompson, you expect that to turn around. And in the defensive zone, playing at home, we'll maybe see some of those matchups coming into play for this Jets team. But Thompson made a couple really good defensive plays in the last game too, breaking up a few sticks, as you mentioned, just being frustrating on Connor McDavid. And we're seeing a Jets team that right now can run four lines, and that's great to see, because this is kind of that weird setup we get this week with the Jets playing tonight and then going right back at it tomorrow. So I don't think we're going to see a shortened bench today.
Yeah, no, I think Trevor Lewis has been awesome. And that line with Matthew Perreault moving back down to the 4-hole, to be honest, Ryan, I think is, the strongest line that we've seen all year. Although, can't really say too many bad things about Dominic Tornado and what he did since coming into the lineup. And, there's a guy in Jets now in a situation where both Vesalainen and Tornado, I think, really acquitted themselves well. And listen, you hope that you'll stay healthy and go forward, but they are in a pretty advantageous situation when it comes to their forwards, especially considering some of the more desperate moves I think we're seeing Dave Tippett go to tonight, knowing that his team is in a 2-0 hole and can't afford to go down 3-0.
Yeah, and they have to beat Mr. Connor Hellebuck at some point in this series. I think it would be silly to expect that Connor McDavid will be shut out in this entire series, but you can definitely say the Jets have done a great job at limiting what he's able to do. But I still am not over the simplicity of how Connor Hellebuck has just gotten in the way of Connor McDavid's shots. There was one, Huss, I think it was in the first period of game 2, where, Hellebuck set up in his reverse VH along the post, has kind of got his upper body there. McDavid throws a shot in, and I don't even know if Hellebuck was looking at it. Like, he just kind of just took it, like, thank you, and moved on. Very robotic. I call him Mr. Big and Boring, Huss, but the way that he's been playing so far in these playoffs, I think we need to knight him soon. We can do Sir Big and Boring at some point in this playoff run if it keeps going the way that it has, because it's not just the fact that Connor Hellebuck is shutting down these Oilers players. It's always the way he does it. He just plays such a confident game, and when he's hot, he's making those big saves look real easy, and there's been a few times in this series where he did that, and I don't know if many of us were even that phased with the way that Oilers 5-on-3 went in game 2, and then Hellebuck kicks that one out on Leon Draisaitl, and you knew that it was probably going to be a safe kill for that hockey club.
All right, Ryan Brandt of CJOB is with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. JP Vigier coming up in a few minutes. Lots of action in the chat, Ryan, and first I'll get you to address this. A couple of people have said, is it just me, or does Ryan Brandt look like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins? Have you ever got the Nuge comparisons before?
Yes, I have, Hustler. I've got a few of those that have come up, but the Nuge is definitely one that can kind of get out there. I would give a shout out. I'll give a shout out to my friend Pat Mackay at CTV Saskatoon, Hustler, who was mistaken by children at an Oilers game that I was at when they were playing a preseason game in Saskatoon when I was working there, and a group of kids came up to him, local news guys wearing a suit, and the Healthy Scratches were sitting a couple rows above us. So there were some kids asking for autographs. So I can't really take the reign of being the top Ryan Nugent-Hopkins lookalike in Canadian media, but this isn't the first time that I've gotten one of those. And I'll take anything where these guys are young, Huss. I'll keep that as long as I can.
Hey, the Nuge is a cutie. You could be compared to many worse NHLers, that's for sure. Oh, and shout out to Energy 21 Design. Energy's in here. If you've seen, check his Twitter. Excuse me. Does some great graphic work and has a T-shirt out with Bucky Saves, if you will. Bit of a religious theme, but he has been the savior of the Winnipeg Jets. So check that out. Really thought that was cool. Shout out to Energy for making that happening. Oh, and look at this. DQ Nick with us in YouTube on the golf course right now, golfing and listening, even after 2 at the bone. Love to see it, Nick. We may have to do another marble race coming up. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow for another cake. Although it was so popular, I think that could be a Friday. We're going to do these cakes on game days. Fridays, though, we'll figure out any excuse to do that, because that was just a captivating way to end the week with Gregory winning it all. Let me ask you this quickly, Ryan, because obviously we're paying attention to the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs as well. Big win for the Leafs last night. Big response, I thought. A weird game for Montreal, though. Got into penalty troubles, and I was on Sirius XM this morning with Dave McCarthy, and we spent about 5 minutes trying to wonder what in the world Montreal saw that caused them to challenge that goal for goalie interference last night. It just seemed like it had no chance of winning, and it was almost like they were throwing in the towel at that point.
Yeah, it kind of sounded like maybe someone in the press box was pointing at the screen and saw something that none of us were seeing. There's a great meme circulating on social media where they replaced the press box TV with a picture of Austin Matthews, and it's Bergevin doing the point at the screen and saying, where can we find one of those? They could use one, certainly. And there's not a lot of teams that could lose a player the quality of John Tavares and still be able to go out there and put out an onslaught of offense like Toronto did. But yeah, I still have no idea, what Montreal was thinking going for a challenge there. We know that sometimes losing a challenge and losing one that clearly really takes a lot of momentum out of a hockey game, and your team's already been scored on. So it really just made no sense to me there.
Eric in the chat, Huss, where's the white playoff gear? It's a great question. I figured I would have to address that at some point today. Excuse me. This shirt right here, folks, is 2-0 in the playoffs. So I was obviously always planning, and I've got my We Are Winnipeg white hoodie behind me. But you guys can vote. Should I go to the white because it's a home game, or do I keep the 2-0 shirt on going forward? Ryan, I know superstitions are sort of crazy, but you never want to have to look yourself in the mirror and go, did I do that? I'm sure the Jets will be able to figure it out for themselves, but white or blue, that is a tough question for tonight, considering everything that goes into this evening's game.
Well, you're talking to a goalie who still puts his skates on left foot, left pad, right pad, glove, blocker, helmet last. So, yeah, I'm with you, Huss. Go with what's working for you, man.
Yeah, okay, Eric, you know what? Keep the 2-0 shirt. Nick, no. Keep the 2-0. Keep the 2-0. All right, it's done. I'll stay with this. If they lose, we'll go to the white for the next home game. But so far, we're so far so good. Hey, want to give a shout out to Mike Venucio. Mike, first time being able to join us live. Great to see you in with us. Obviously, probably consuming it on podcast, as many people do. But yeah, it's certainly great to have you in with us live, and heck of a lot of fun. And I have to thank everyone that's with us. I'm kind of blown away by how many people are with us today. We didn't really say we were doing this show. We just fired out a couple tweets that we were going to go on. But thanks to everyone that's a subscriber. If you're new here and you haven't been with us before, hit the red subscribe button. And if you wouldn't mind, hit that thumbs up too. The likes certainly help us as we try to grow the channel here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. What's been your favorite series south of the border?
I'm starting to like this Nashville one, Huss. Just the atmosphere that the game 1 and 2, no. Game 3, I came in and went, this one will be one to keep an eye on. The Pittsburgh Islanders series, I think, is still the most exciting. And it's great to see, Brandt and Tanev coming to light among hockey fans around the world, just getting to discover what we got to see in Winnipeg for a while. But the one I'm paying the most attention to, about to get underway, is that Nashville-Carolina series. The Preds have, I think, 12,000 fans coming in for tonight's game at Bridgestone. So it gives a great atmosphere, gives us some signs of what will hopefully be coming in Canada pretty soon.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to this one tonight. And bad news right now for Cole Perfetti and Team Canada at the World Hockey Championship. Getting pumped right now, 3-0 against the U.S. midway through the second period. And Ryan, it is sort of crazy looking at the rosters of both Canada and the U.S. I mean, there is not very many household names on either of these clubs. And I think it sort of speaks to the crazy season that the National Hockey League went through. But at the same time, a good opportunity for some younger players, especially a guy like Cole Perfetti, who I believe is on the fourth line today for Canada, just to get that experience that they might not normally have had the opportunity to get. Yeah,
lots of players like that. Brandon Wheatking's captain Braden Schneider's with that Canadian team too. This isn't usually something you'd see. Maybe one standout younger player getting a look from Hockey Canada, but I think that's maybe what you take out of it. It's great to see someone like Cole Perfetti get a chance in this, but this isn't the Canadian team that's going over there expecting or having our expectations of just running the table and winning another gold medal to bring home. But I know people in Latvia are pretty excited, for them to beat Canada in any stage, no matter
Did you see what they did after the game?
No.
So Latvia beats Canada, and all the Latvian fans went and laid flowers at the steps of the Canadian embassy.
Oh, come on. Good for them, though. That's the thing. It wouldn't matter, if it was a C team, D team, a Z team that Canada's bringing over there. If you're beating them, that's a big moment for your national hockey program, no matter what. So, hats off to them for putting it out there. I was a big Sandis Ozolinsh guy, Huss. So I'm down with seeing what they're doing out over there. That's amazing.
Oh man, Ryan, listen, great stuff. Where can people find you on Twitter? And of course, let the people know you're back at CGOB. By the way, I'll be on with Kelly and John Shannon today, 4:30, kicking off the CGOB pregame show. But keeping you busy over there?
Yes, they are. I'll be. I'll have the news for you in about 3 minutes, so I'll be heading in to do it live in a second. So we'll get ready for that.
Well, I guess that's your cue to get out.
That's exactly it, Huss.
Thanks for doing this, dude. We'll catch up soon.
Again.
Enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, talk soon. Bye.
All right, there is our guy, Ryan Brandt. Now back with CGOB, but a great friend of ours. Big part of the warm-up along with Michael Remis and I for the last couple of years back on Pembina Highway. We're going to get to the nuts and bolts of how the Jets have done this. How are they up 2-0 right now? What have been the keys? We'll dive into the hockey mind of our friend JP Vigier in just a minute. Do want to give a shout out to Little Brown Jug, Winnipeg Sports Talk's official brew. I have showed you. We've got the new summer lager right there. The Hefeweizen, which looks like an invisible beer when I put it up here on the green screen. It's definitely, well, it might be invisible after you crack it shortly. But anyways, littlebrownjug.ca, they relaunched the website. You can get home delivery right now while everyone's staying home. And whether it's a 1919, a Hefeweizen, incredible beers and great supporters of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Awesome having Little Brown Jug on board with us. And of course, Boston Pizza, it's game day. I had the pizza flights for game 2. Along with some wings. It was an elite order. I will suggest that tonight, but you also might want to go to the game day deal, which has the spicy pierogi pizza, the Meteor, and a case of wings, 24. You can get those online at bostonpizza.ca or give them a call for takeout and delivery from any of the local locations. All right, let's welcome in the man himself, JP Vigier, for the first time on Winnipeg Sports Talk. JP, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you, Huss?
Hanging in there. Not a lot going on for this long weekend other than the Jets Oilers. So we said, what the heck? We may as well fire it up on Sunday and do a show. And really appreciate you joining us. It was a great opportunity to get back, chop it up, because obviously a lot of excitement going into tonight's game 3 with the way the Jets have been able to win the first 2 of this series. What have you thought so far?
Well, it's been a Winnipeg Jets team that we have not seen. I think, the struggles at the end of the year, the questions that came about, everything that was leading up to the playoffs did not bode well for the Winnipeg Jets. Sure, a couple wins to finish off the season, but from then on, wow, have we seen a Winnipeg Jets team that is way different. From the way they've played during the season to the playoffs, it has been night and day.
So, JP, you saw the team struggle down the road, down the stretch. They lost 7 in a row, 9 of 10. And I think back to the 6-1 loss to the Oilers and Paul Stastny afterwards saying, this has been creeping up on us for a while, 10 to 15 games. We need to get back and focus. And I'm not sure whether that was the turning point or after the Montreal game, but they sort of bottomed out that week and then have been building from there. And I know a lot of people rolled their eyes at Paul Maurice saying that this sort of adversity can and will make us better for the playoffs, but it certainly seems like that has been the case. How and why has that been the case, JP?
Well, to go back to the start of the season, let's be very clear on that. The bottom out is normally when everyone on the team has their amen moment. And the difficulty with a team like the Winnipeg Jets is that amen moment can take longer to get to. When you have the likes of a Connor Hellebuck who can steal a game here or there, a guy like a Mark Scheifele who can have a 3-4 point night and really carry the team for a night or two, that really holds off on that amen moment. And when it finally hit, I think everyone realized for them to win, they have to play a certain way. And I think that's the big thing. And we've seen it in these first 2 games against the Edmonton Oilers. To me, the biggest discrepancy we've seen is the forecheck. We are used to seeing 2 men hard on the puck, chasing that puck down, 3rd man high and going to get it. And the Winnipeg Jets have gotten away from that almost the whole game. We are looking at a 1-man forecheck. And if there is any pressure, then the 2nd man activates. And at that point, then the Jets are in full forecheck mode. But we have seen them blow out of the zone and back up and allow the Edmonton Oilers time to come at them, but they're not being overly aggressive at that point. They're waiting till the neutral zone. So for the likes of Connor McDavid, Yamamoto, Leon Draisaitl, they're not allowed to gain speed with that puck and have gaps between the Jets forwards and D. Right now we're seeing a 5-man unit very compact, and that's something we haven't seen for most of the season because the Winnipeg Jets have been pushing the pace forward and having their D-man back here. So there's been a gap, and that's why during the regular season, Connor McDavid made him look silly on occasion because he had so much time with the puck.
And, it's interesting on that. It seems like Dave Tippett is trying to go to a much speedier lineup. It looks like there's going to be 3 changes. No Neil, no Alex Chason, and no Dominic Cahoon, who started off in the top 6, bringing in Shore, Haas, and Tyler Ennis. Put yourself in Dave Tippett's shoes right now, JP, considering the lineup changes and the desperate, urgent nature of their plight going into tonight. What is Tippett going to try to do to the Winnipeg Jets that they weren't able to do in games 1 and 2?
Play Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl for about 55 minutes, I think. To be honest, I think that's exactly what he's doing. He's going to look for a speedy lineup. The big bruisers aren't doing anything to the Winnipeg Jets. So maybe the buzzsaws can come out and create some turnovers and then eat the Winnipeg Jets up in the neutral zone. The key isn't going to be who comes in and out for the Edmonton Oilers. The key is going to be what can the Winnipeg Jets do at the same pace that they've been doing. The old adage of changing a guy on a 3rd or 4th line isn't going to win you a game, right? If nothing against the likes of a Lewis or Matthew Pearl, but if you bring them out and bring someone else in for 9 or 10 minutes, that's not game changer. Right, you hope that the guys come in and do the right things. But right now, I believe you're going to see Edmonton go to a speedy game, try and get through that neutral zone a little bit quicker. I anticipate seeing double chips, something we haven't seen. And for people who don't understand that, is they're going to go D to D up the wall, and then the first chip to the winger, and that's centerman or the far winger coming in through hard. That is something Dave Tippett used to do a lot of, and I think you'll see him come back to that double chip and getting speed and pressure on the Winnipeg Jets. Once they're in the zone, that's a different Edmonton Oilers team. They're able to use their speed, and Draisaitl and McDavid come around and move everything over almost like in a mini power play and then attack the net. That's what I think they'll look to do. They've been trying to bully the Winnipeg Jets for 2 games, and that has not worked. Zach Caston and company have been non-factors getting to the net, and also the Winnipeg Jets, let's be realistic, the decor, that stepped up a lot. When you can have non-seeing glove saves from Dylan DeMello, that goes a long way in the playoffs to winning a game, right? At some point, you got to be lucky, but the Winnipeg Jets have bought in. Their D-man have not even gone up the ice once for a rush. They are staying back. They are staying in their lanes and being very patient.
You know what, JP, I'm glad you brought that up. And, it sort of ties into what we just talked about, the 3rd and 4th line as well. You're not expecting the 4th line to change games, but what can be game changing is when your 4th line is able to hold their own the way the Winnipeg Jets 4th line has been. You know, a year in the past, you would have never thought that a Jet fourth line would be out with 5 minutes left in a 0-0 playoff game against Connor McDavid. But there they were on a number of occasions in the first couple games. And then the biggest concern about the Jets all year long has been the blue line. And I would offer to you that the combination of Tucker Poolman and Logan Stanley, who played all of probably about 5 minutes together in the regular season, have both acquitted themselves as well as anyone could have imagined. I mean, in game one, their ice time was just 2 minutes off of Pionk and Forboard. Talk about the contributions of the fourth line and especially that third defense pairing, if you would.
Yeah, well, that fourth line, we say they don't get to be game changers, but they scored the game winner one night. Tornado hasn't played a handful of games for the Winnipeg Jets. He's in the lineup contributing. And I think the luxury of having those veterans, Lewis and Thompson, go out against McDavid to buy a breath of air for Scheifele and Wheeler to do a little more offensively is exactly what the Winnipeg Jets need. And now Paul Maurice can trust those guys because Lewis and Thompson can skate with anybody. They're fast. They know where to go. And Thompson, as soon as he's on the ice against McDavid, he doesn't even look at the puck almost. I'm sorry to say. I saw him chase McDavid around for a whole shift and just stay right beside him and not allow him to do anything, which is what you have to do. It's the old shadow trick. You don't see it happen a whole lot anymore, but they're coming out. They're going to be after blood tonight. And I think the first 10 or 15 minutes of the game could really dictate a lot for the Winnipeg Jets and for the Edmonton Oilers, who seem to have a little bit of doubt creep into their game, which they did not have down the stretch. And it's the opposite for the Winnipeg Jets. And the third pairing, Poolman and Stanley, what more do you want? They kill penalties, they block shots, they get in your grill. I think having Poolman away from Josh Morrissey alleviates the expectation of him being a top pair defenseman, and he can just go play his game. His game is nasty. He's rough. He gets in your grill. And now he's allowed to jump in the play because, Logan Stanley is not jumping up on the play. He doesn't have green light to do that yet. So Poolman gets to jump in, scores the game opening goal the other night. And I think that just boosts their confidence, and that little nasty edge that both of them play with makes it very difficult for the opposition to come out. And I think the changes that Tippett's doing is to try and outskate those two guys tonight. I think that'll be an interesting matchup to see. Can the speedy Oilers push the pace on Poolman and Stanley, especially in the defensive zone with them zipping and diving all over the place?
Well, and Vij, speaking of Stanley, I mean, I've been pumping his tires for the last couple months as we've seen him grow, his confidence, his contribution to the club. But I will say, I mean, his PK shift on, was it Friday, with the poke check on McDavid and then smoking Draisaitl into the boards? I mean, that's another aspect of his game we haven't seen a lot of, and early returns are very good with Logan Stanley helping out on that side of special teams.
Basically from day one of the season, he's probably been one of the surprises of the season for the Winnipeg Jets. No one even had him penciled in to be a top 6 defenseman, top 7, top 8 might even be questionable. He comes in, earns a spot right off the bat, and really he got taken out for veteran players, but not on merit. It was more on a veteran and rookie kind of thing. To me, he has shown all year that he's capable of playing. His foot speed has improved so much. He's cleared from that knee injury that for a big guy, it takes a long time. I've gone through a knee injury. I'm not nearly as big as that guy, and it sucks. It took me almost a full year to recover and feel normal. Now he's probably got 50 pounds on me. He's got 7 inches. It takes a long time to get your foot speed back up, the confidence in the knee, the edging on the ice, the battle in the corners, all those little details takes a long time to come back. And I think he could be a cornerstone for the Winnipeg Jets. Is he going to be your big, sexy player? No. But he can be a guy who kills penalties, blocks shots, gets the odd goal. He's got a great eye around the net. He makes a good first pass. What more do you want? The Jets can score tons of goals. Let's worry about stopping him at the other end. And he just goes like wings out like this, and you can't get by him.
JP Vigier with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, getting ready for Game 3 tonight between the Winnipeg Jets and the Edmonton Oilers. What did you make of Josh Morrissey's struggles at times this season? Because at 27 minutes in Game 2 and a strong performance in Game 1, whatever it was seems to have really turned around when they needed it the most. And I imagine some credit probably goes to his defense partner, Dylan DeMello, and the calming influence that he's had on 44.
And that's a good starting point right there. And I think early on in the season, when Paul Maurice had DeMello with Morrissey, DeMello was playing catch-up kind of chased the start of the season, didn't get comfortable. And it's kind of like a Pierre-Luc Dubois coming in, trying to chase this season, quarantining, coming back, getting hurt, trying to find a rhythm with a new team. Well, Dylan DeMello didn't get to play that much more than Pierre-Luc Dubois, a few extra games last year before the season gets shut down. So I think they're still trying to find each other. And I think Josh Morrissey almost looks like he's playing, I don't want to say carefree, but he doesn't care that he's the number one guy anymore. It seemed to weigh on him earlier in the season that he was the man. He was going to play all the minutes, play against the top guns. And I think he's just said, you know what? I can only do what I can do. I can only play how I play. So the added pressure I'm giving to myself is actually slowing me down. And I think that not carefree, but just that I got to play my game to be the best I can be has really helped him do everything, because he can join the rush. He's good defensively. His stick's always in a great place, but now he's confident in that ability, and he's not second guessing himself to have to do everything. He does what he can. He jumps up when he can. He plays defense when he needs to. And that's the Josh Morrissey we've grown to love.
JP Vigier with us here, getting ready for Game 3 between the Jets and Oilers tonight. Let's get back to Ehlers' return to the lineup, and maybe I'll combine this because, of course, Pierre-Luc Dubois just came back at the for last game, so we've seen some a change each game to that second line. But now with Stastny, Dubois, and Ehlers, the Jets set up for obviously their top second line that Paul Maurice can ice. And when you consider, JP, that Adam Lowry and Mark Scheifele's line in most likelihood will be playing big minutes against McDavid's line, certainly does give some potential juicy matchups for Paul Maurice with that second line. But just maybe what did you think of Dubois? How did he look to you in game number 2? And what do you expect from this unit now that Nikolai Ehlers, after such a great season, is back in the lineup tonight?
Well, one, I think a hungry Nikolai Ehlers is probably going to be the starting point for whatever we're doing. I think the hungrier he is, the more he skates. He's a guy who can put fear into any defenseman coming in. And I think the key will be, where does Paul Maurice slot them in? And right now, I think Paul Maurice is going to look to slot them in against Edmonton's third and fourth line, depending on the matchups. He's got last change. To me, I think the complement of the three players has the potential to be a dynamic line. Nikolai Ehlers with the zone entry, the flying around, making things happen, getting to loose holes, creating turnovers through his speed, and getting in on the forecheck in a different way. But the strength of Pierre-Luc Dubois in the corners, which is starting to develop more and more. And I think having him on the wing is going to allow him to get in on the forecheck, create more turnovers, and hold on to that puck. So for when Ehlers comes around and zips, and then he can just chip it to open areas to Ehlers. And Stastny's kind of that glue in the middle who can deliver both pucks to both sides. He can take face-offs. He can be that the chain link that makes the line go. So I think the potential is there. We need to see if Stastny and Dubois can play at Ehlers' speed, because tonight Nikolai Ehlers is going to be probably on Mach 7. He's going to be so excited after the playoffs of last year's success and getting that kind of monkey off his back of playoff success and not getting into it right away. He's going to be at full turbo. Stastny and Dubois just better put on their jets, because he's going to be flying. They're going to have to keep up to him. And I think that chemistry could be very interesting, especially if you think they're playing against a third or fourth line of the Edmonton Oilers. Because Maurice is going to go Scheifele's line, Lowry's line, and I may even think he might even go Lewis's line before he goes Stastny's line, because any of those three lines can play against McDavid and Draisaitl, allowing that the Jets' unsung second line to play against third or fourth line matchups. They could eat them alive.
Yeah, and you mentioned the zone entries with Ehlers. That's going to be a huge boost to the Jets' attack, I think, because that is one thing that still has been problematic for the Jets, is getting possession in the offensive zone. They have resorted to a lot of dump-ins, and with a goaltender like Mike Smith that handles the puck the way he does, it can be going back the other way pretty darn fast.
Yeah, and he's done that a few times, and he's bypassed the defenseman and shot that puck all the way to the far blue. I think the key for the Jets is where they're going to dump that puck. And I think they've been dumping a lot of pucks to behind the net, and that's right in his wheelhouse. He steps out, i.e. like Marty Brodeur come out. He's that third defenseman and bypasses the whole forecheck and kills everything. I think the Jets have to be soft in their dumps, and either rim it really hard or soft chip to get just into that corner where the Jets can get two guys closing in on one defenseman. But the key will be is, do they have time in the neutral zone? Because I think Edmonton is going to do exactly what the Winnipeg Jets have done for 2 games. They're going to back off that forecheck, and wait for a turnover. We're going to see this could be a boring 2-1 game tonight of neutral zone trap from both teams, because both teams are looking to counter. And I think the Winnipeg Jets have done it for 2 games. Dave Tippett, known for being very patient and very deliberate in his methods, is probably going to look to do the same.
JP, we've spoken a lot about, the depth of the hockey club and Ehlers coming back in on the top line. But, I think we'd all agree that the Winnipeg Jets are going to go as far as Connor Hellebuyck and Mark Scheifele in that top line will take them. We'll get to Hellebuyck in a minute, but top line, obviously they got a couple empty netters, but, they've kept their heads above water and they've kept Connor McDavid off the score sheet. What have you seen from the Jets' top line? How have they contributed to these wins from a defensive perspective that maybe we didn't see on a regular basis in the regular season?
Well, I think you're seeing a bigger concentrated effort from Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Blake Wheeler to not be so aggressive offensively. And I think if there's a 50-50 puck, at times they've bailed. By bailing, they pulled out of the zone and they've waited for another opportunity, allowing the time of them to regroup. I think the Winnipeg Jets are going to, if they can get the puck in deep and work that cycle and the give and go, they're going to be able to spend lots of time and wear Connor McDavid out. But I think they're almost going 2 guys high in the offensive zone, which allows 2 layers. So it's a little bit tougher for one forechecker to beat 2 or 3 Edmonton Oilers. One quick pass and you're chasing. And so the Winnipeg Jets from that line are going to have to be good in the neutral zone to create a turnover and then counter-attack, and I think that's where they can have their success. But the biggest thing I've noticed, Mark Scheifele is stopping on every loose puck against Connor McDavid. During the regular season, he would turn, and we all seen that video of Connor McDavid pulling the e-brake on Mark Scheifele along the boards during the regular season and burying it to the net. No one wants to admit it, but Mark Scheifele had his feet pointing the wrong way in that one. Coming in, if he can stop on those battles, he can skate with Connor McDavid in small spaces and keep him contained to the outside. So I think that's been one of the biggest keys, Mark Scheifele buying into staying tight to Connor McDavid and not allowing him time to get away from him and get open.
Hey, JP, one other exciting thing about the Jet lineup tonight is with the addition of Ehlers, Matthew Perreault goes to the 4th line, and Andrew Kopp is reunited with Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton on that 3rd line that has been such a part of the Jets' success this season. What does Kopp returning to that line do for that unit? And maybe just a word on the career season that we've seen from Andrew Kopp as he continues to develop in the NHL.
Well, I think this move puts Andrew Kopp in a comfortable place, and I think he can take a little bit more of a leadership role offensively with this group. I think he's kind of the straw that stirs the drink on that 3rd line. Appleton and Lowry are the workhorses and the beast, but Kopp sometimes just lays the puck in those open areas and allows those big dogs to get going. So I think it'll be very interesting. That's a comfortable line. Paul Maurice will, almost veto to that line. Hey, go. And he trusts them 100% because they do the right things 99 out of 100 times. And Andrew Kopp this year has shown with a little bit of trust and a little bit of confidence in his back pocket, he can put, 30, 40, 50 points in for a season, which the Winnipeg Jets have been dying to see more offense from the secondary scoring. Well, that line this year, when they were together, were one of the best lines, and they were scoring 3, 4, 5 games in a row offensively, something we hadn't seen because the previous year, Adam Lowry and Andrew Kopp both struggled offensively, and they just seem to have found their way to getting pucks to the net, being simple, and almost playing that bully hockey with a little bit of an edge, and I think that's what really holds that line together.
And JP, of course, the last line of defense is Connor Hellebuyck, who continues to be brilliant for the Winnipeg Jets. Big and boring. I don't really remember any spectacular saves for the most part. There have been a couple. There was one on Darnell Nurse that was quite good, and I'm still somewhat skeptical of what are classified as high danger chances, because I think the Jets have done a great job at giving Hellebuyck the opportunity to see most of the pucks that have been getting at him. But just your thoughts on where Hellebuyck's game is right now and what that does to a team like the Winnipeg Jets in a challenge against Connor McDavid and the Oilers.
Well, anytime you have the reigning Vezina winning goalie in net, you have a chance to win. And that just gives the team a boost of confidence. And I hate using this line, but back in the day when I played, when you had a good goalie in net, you could play the game the right way. And at times it meant that you were going to have a turnover or something was going to happen, but you knew he had you most of the time. And that just leads to confidence through the D-core, allowing them to stand up at the right time, at the right place at the offensive blue lines, allows the forwards to do the right things on the forecheck and in the neutral zone, and that just bleeds through the organization, right from top to bottom, first line to fourth line, knowing, hey, I'm going to bust my butt. Even if I, fan on the puck, I do something wrong, Connor Hellebuyck's going to have my back, and that's what he does night after night. And I think he hasn't had to be fancy because of the buy-in from the Winnipeg Jets on adapting their open ice system to a more of a tight defensive checking game. And I think that's been one of the keys. Simplify is less. They're not winning 5-1 as much anymore, or 5-3, but they are having the success against some of the elite players in the National Hockey League. Draisaitl, McDavid, hate to say this, they've been null and void for 2 games. How long that continues, who knows? But I think you keep that same recipe. Keep it to the outside. And at times, the Jets have 2 players tied on to McDavid. If that's what you need, so be it. See if the other 4 players on the ice can beat your 3. And at that point, you take your chances and see where it goes.
JP Vigier with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, getting ready for tonight's Game 3 between the Jets and Oilers. I know it's the middle of the long weekend. Yes, we are live. Thanks to everyone that's joining us today for this special edition. And we'll be back at it tomorrow, 1 p.m. as well, talking about tonight's game and getting ready for tomorrow's Game 4. Vij, what did you think of Game 2, or really the first 2 games between Habs Leafs?
Well, it's been almost 2 teams feeling each other out. I think Toronto on the first night trying to be not who they were. And I think their identity has changed. They are a skilled team, but they are going to muck it out and let some of the skill come through. And I think we saw that in Game 2. And Game 2, Montreal got carried away in the penalties and got rattled. I think it's going to be a great series. I think it's going to go 6 or 7. Montreal has found a way to get under their skin. Losing John Tavares is nothing you want to see, but that puts a big hole in that second line for the Toronto Maple Leafs. If the Habs can play that feisty, chippy, in-your-face game, I think that annoys the Marners and the Matthews a little too much. So we'll see. I've loved the games. They've been exciting. Bring it. It's playoff hockey. I got 2 TVs set up. I got the computer on the side. We're watching 2-3 games at a time. My wife thinks I'm crazy. I said, I'm not going anywhere. I might as well watch some hockey.
Yeah, you know what? Speaking of that, and your career, Gregory popped in the chat and said he did not know that you were a member of the hated Chicago Wolves. Greg, I don't know how Greg didn't know that, because you were a mainstay of that. You got the 16 up there on the wall. Those are some good battles against the Moose back in the day when you were on the wrong side.
They were fantastic rivalries. I mean, to me, that rivalry was one of the most fun, because coming from close to Winnipeg, when we'd come play here, I think I'd have almost 200 people in the stands. So you want to put on a show for your family and demonstrate that you belong, and you want to take it to the Manitoba Moose, who I watched growing up as a kid. So it was super fun. I loved my time in Chicago. The atmosphere of that arena. It was a smoky, dungy
the big
rink.
ashtray.
It was dark. The fans were on you. They boo. It was, and your sweater stunk, but man, they loved it, and the noise that came out of there. It was an awesome rink to play. We got to win a championship there. I lost in the finals another year. I think it was some of the best years we had. And if you ever need anything in that town, it's a big town. They're a big city, but they were always there helping you. They had your back. It was a great atmosphere. Yeah, it's one of those places you cherish. All the places you go for different things. Chicago, the passion of the fans and the intensity. Man, if you didn't play a good game, they were going to let you know. If you played a great game, they were going to let you know. So it was just an awesome place to play.
Oh, good times. I remember being with the Moose and being down there for some playoff hockey in that old barn. It was a lot of fun and a very, very good time. Hey, just before we go, obviously everything's shut down right now. How are you holding up right now? And are you just basically waiting for the rinks to get back open and get back on the ice with all the work that you're doing?
Yeah, we're trying to prepare for what's going to be open again, or when we open, trying to stay busy, stay active. My yard is looking mint. Spending a lot of time just trying to stay sane in the backyard like everybody else. Excuse me. But yeah, we're chipping away, preparing, and hopefully we can hit the ice in the upcoming weeks and get back to having some fun with some kids out there.
How do people find out more about the JP Vigier? What is it? Is it a hockey academy at this point yet, or just the Vigier
not
tree
quite,
of teaching?
Yeah. So we're we're vjhockey.com is where you can go, all one word. We have all our camp information there, some of the different things we do, if it's one-on-one, some teaching, some mental aspect of things, or straight hockey skills. Camps are there. Instagram, VJ Hockey, and then Twitter, JeanVJ11, and away we go. We try and tweet everything out. Social media is not my forte. I do get some help to make sure we do it right. I won't lie. But this is my time of reflection and growth, and my growth comes into that aspect right now.
JP, this has been so much fun. It's great to talk to you again, my friend. Glad to hear everything's going so well with the kids and what you're doing on the ice. We'll get you back on the ice, but while you have time, we won't hesitate to try to get you back on Winnipeg Sports Talk because people loved it, and we really appreciate having you on today.
Yeah, anytime, guys. Let me know. Day times, I'm usually free right now, so give me a shout.
Right on. Thanks, Vij. There he is, JP Vigier, longtime analyst with us back in the Pembina Highway days, and of course, former NHLer with the Thrashers, and he was one of the big dogs on those Wolves teams going back at it head-to-head with the Manitoba Moose a few years back. Great stuff with JP Vigier. Thanks you very much for joining us today. We've got lots going on, as we mentioned. If you're looking to get that, I mean, I'm going in blue today. Everyone has said I've got to stay with the 2-0 shirt. I will do that. But some of you might want maybe some last-minute whites, and you can pop by at Royal Sports, safe, sanitized, socially distanced. They've got all whiteout gear there, tons of Jets merch, as well as really merch from pretty much every team on the planet, because no one has a bigger selection than Royal Sports. And again, it's hopefully will be getting a little warmer in a few days. Disc golf, camping, bikes, fitness, they've got it all at Royal Sports. Pop down, support them. They're incredible supporters of us. 650 Rally and EK and 750 Pembina Highway. And for our friends at Breezy Bend, this is such an incredible sports day, folks. And the timing of this show is great because we're going to finish up here, get in the rack and watch the PGA Championship and see if Phil Mickelson can become the oldest major winner ever. Phil right now is the leader, 7 under par. He'll be playing with the alpha male himself, Brooks Koepka, this afternoon. They're going to be teeing off shortly. Louis Oosthuizen and Kevin Streelman are at 5 under par. Gary Woodland's at 4. And then a group at 3 under, including Paul Casey, Brandon Grace, and then 2s, defending champion Colin Morikawa, Sung J M, Canadian Corey Connors, all within 5 shots of the lead. It should be an amazing afternoon. And they'll give out the Wanamaker Trophy, and then we'll get ready to drop the puck on Game 3 between the Winnipeg Jets and the Edmonton Oilers tonight. Let's get Michael Remis back in here. Remo, great job of holding things down, both here and on the chat. And by the way, it's so great to see how many people are with us right now, well over 300 on a kind of an impromptu show. And we love everybody's takes on the game. But like Adam K and anyone that wants to come in with hot COVID takes, nobody gives a shit. So let's just focus on the game tonight, Game 3 between the Oilers and Jets, and keep it locked on what we're here to talk about. That Twitter can be the cesspool for all of your takes about the problems with the world. We're here to get ready for Game 3 tonight between the Jets and Oilers.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I did have to put on the mute button there. Or put someone in timeout. And just want to give a shout out to Halverso 99 with a super chat. He says, epic Sunday show. Go Jets, go. And yeah, I don't really have chat rules here, but I mean, if you're going on in chat and you get asked to stop and you keep going, you're gonna get muted. You don't need to come in and bring everyone down. We're here to have a good time. We're here to talk about hockey. We're all pumped for the game tonight. So we're keeping on that. So thank you, Huss, for saying that. And yeah, we'll put people in timeout if we have to. But hey, we're all excited for the game tonight, Game 3. I did not think that we would be at Jets 2-0. I did not think Connor McDavid would have 0 points in 2 games. And I want to clarify something. After the game, I tweeted out, okay, Connor McDavid had 21 points in 9 regular season games against the Jets, and now he's got 2 points. He's got 0 points in 2 games. I just pointed that out. I was just putting it out there for everyone. I'm just as shocked as everyone. And then Rick said to me, don't poke the bear. I'm not poking any bear. I'm not saying, Connor McDavid, you stink, you got 0 points. I'm just saying, I can't believe what I've been watching, that he's got 0 points. And there we go. And not just a shout out to Evan P.
Evan!
Super
Thank
chat.
you.
He says, thanks for the great Sunday show. You guys are awesome. So,
Oh, Evan, thank you. Well, you know what? Honestly, Remo brought it up, and I'm like, huh, I'm just going to be watching golf all afternoon and probably talking about the game on the phone with buddies. And it's like, yeah, like, why not? Let's do it. And, to see how many people have joined us today is just amazing. And we'll look forward to doing it again tomorrow. Because Reem, tomorrow's show is going to be wild. We'll have everything that happened tonight to get to, as well as set up what, was obviously always a pivotal game in a series in Game 4. The big question is, will the Oilers get back into it tonight and it be a 2-1 series, or will the Jets be on the verge of a sweep? And that will be the situation if they can be the better team tonight through 60 minutes. And I guarantee nobody had that going in.
I'm getting chills thinking about the possibility of a Jets sweep. And, we were talking about the odds. The Jets were underdogs for the first two. They're still a home dog, Huss. Slight dog. I have it coming across the bottom right now. Plus 114 is what I just saw before the start of the show on CoolBet. So if you want to bet the Jets, you think they got a chance. I mean, listen to VJ talk about Oilers being on line 2, and you've seen what Oilers has done to the Oilers this year, and you look at the Oilers' bottom lines with McDavid and Draisaitl on the top line, you're kind of salivating at what Oilers can do on his speed, and I know people are speculating in chat about his health. I don't think they're going to put him in if he's a high probability of getting injured from a hit. We don't know what the injury it is. We're assuming it's shoulder, ish, just based on that hit that they wouldn't clarify. That was the hit he got hurt.
Well, not to mention in practice this week, while he was in the non-contact jersey, we saw him like jumping into the boards, kind of testing his shoulder on that. I mean, yeah. And listen, if this was the regular season right now, would he be in? Maybe they'd say, let's give him an extra game or two. But I don't think they're going to be putting Nikolai Ehlers in prematurely because let's face it, this team is not just planning on playing tonight. I mean, they're in a good position. They hope to move on. They hope to have a long playoff run, and you're going to need Nikolai Ehlers there. And, to bring him back too early and risk re-injuring it, not in the best interest of the club, especially the way the team's played without him for the first two games. So I'm quite confident if Nikolai Ehlers is in the lineup tonight, he will be, now, 100%. What does 100% mean? I don't know. He should be able to participate tonight. I don't think the risk of re-injury would be any more than, any other thing that's happened in the past. And the one thing I can guarantee is that he will be flying tonight. And there's so much talk about Ehlers in the playoffs, too, that he finally got off the schneid with the goals against Calgary. If you think back to the series against St. Louis, he was one of the best Jets in that. He didn't have a great run when the team went in 2018, but he really has turned into a much more complete player, Reem. And, especially as we talked about with JP Vigier, his ability to change the Jets' attack when it comes to, gaining possession in the offensive zone is unlike anybody else on the team and really best in the league. And for a team that has had difficulties at times with the dump-ins and Mike Smith getting it and turning it the other way, it'd be really interesting to see the effect that he can have on that aspect of the game tonight.
Yeah, I definitely think, his zone entries will be huge. I know Kyle Connor's kind of taken a bit of a lead there on that top line, which, as VJ was saying, has looked, completely different. It's like they knew it was the playoffs and they had to change their game. I don't know, like flipping a switch or something that we talked about that may or may not be possible when the playoffs have started. But, I mean, you look at the way it's played, and there's no denying that the Jets have completely changed their style of play. And having Ehlers, a guy, again, who's up there with McDavid in terms of, zone entries and skating ability, feasting on those bottom lines. And I remember we talked to Justin Bourne of, was he on Sportsnet now? He played, pro hockey. And he was saying, some guys are just meant to feast on those bottom pair forward or bottom, 6 forwards. And that's a guy like Nikolai Ehlers whose speed can take advantage. We'll see his shooting tonight. I know there were some questions last week if he was taking slap shots or not just because of his injury. But I think we'll have a pretty good idea right away how he's feeling. And I agree. With them up 2-0, if he wasn't healthy, they're not putting him in. They've shown they can win without him. I mean, it was, and I think Murat also posted this. It's not like the Jets dominated the Oilers at all. I mean, they're 2 close games. They got a couple of breaks, and they're up 2-0. But that's what playoff hockey is, and it's been awesome to watch. And I don't know how many people here picked the Jets. I know a lot of people weren't very high on the team going into the playoffs, but everyone is so fired up here for this game tonight. And it's awesome to see what they've done with the arena looking white. So having Ehlers back is, Dubois last game and now Ehlers this game. The team's healthy and it's looking good.
All right, chat's popping right now. Gregory, so this is a question. Should I watch Game 3 tonight? The Jets are 2-0 when I don't watch. Greg, you've got a date with Paul Edmonds tonight. You're listening to the game on 680 CJOB. Don't watch. Let's keep this going. Let's keep the winning formula going. And you know what? You can sit there. You can crush half of a DQ cake that you won in the marble race, and you can listen to Paul. Speaking of Paul, before we finish up, Reem, we got to give a shout out to both Paulie and Harnryan Singh for a couple of great calls of the Stastny
Paul
OT winner.
Stastny!
They call that the sing-song way of delivering it. Yeah.
I watched that one.
Stastny! It was beautiful. Beautiful.
But also, I tweeted out Paul Edmonds' call of
it was amazing.
Which was a
and
classic.
Great job with putting it over the video too. It looks so cool. Check the Sports Talk WPG Twitter if you did not see that.
Yeah, which was a classic Edmonds call. So that was pretty good. And NBC broadcasting the game as well. I think Alex Faust, who's the Kings announcer, he had a call as well. And you love that, especially on a goal like that where it's completely unexpected. Whips a shot and then you're just going crazy. And I thought going into this series, we're seeing all these series in the U.S. with fans, people are going nuts. And I'm like, oh, it's not going to be as intense. Man, that third period, I was sitting on the sitting on the floor in my basement, unable to move, very, very nervous. So I don't think it really matters when it's playoff hockey. It definitely felt like playoff hockey to me, where anytime any team has a possession, you're worried, you're feeling nervous, you're feeling all these different emotions, especially in overtime. So I thought it was awesome.
Okay. I just saw somebody mentioning DraftKings and Cop. You know what? I'm just looking. They do have a showdown slate for tonight. So, we'll crank out invites on that 20-person Ream.
Should I do a showdown or should I do just a regular?
Let's just do a showdown.
Okay. People are asking for. I haven't played. I can be honest. I haven't played DraftKings for playoffs. The playoffs speak for itself, but people have been asking. And if you do want to get in, just tweet us your name. I guess our Twitter handle, Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Most people, I think if it's a 20-person contest, the invites should go out. So we'll do that. But yeah, hit us up on Twitter with your DraftKings handle if you want an invite and you haven't got one before. So we got PGA Championship this afternoon. It's ugly right now at the World Championships for Canada, getting pumped 4-0 by the United States. And I've got to give, I know we've been talking a lot of hockey and we'll get into some golf, but a quick congratulations to Manitoba's Carrie Anderson. What an incredible run Canada's queen of the pebbled ice has had. Her and Brad Gushu lost in the bronze medal game today. So they aren't coming back with hardware from the World Championships. But early Saturday morning, one of the most incredible comebacks I have ever seen. I know mixed is a little different than regular curling. To get to the semifinals. It was an incredible Houdini act by Carrie and Brad. Very exciting. But after 2 months in the bubble, she'll be back out to Gimli, seeing her husband and daughters, and then get ready for the summer. And then, of course, the Olympic trials coming up. So congratulations, Carrie and Brad. What an incredible couple months they've had in the bubble. And now, obviously, coming back from the World Championships. All right, everybody, before we finish up, hit the like button if you haven't already. Let's get some predictions in the chat. We'll be able to go back tomorrow and see who the great Kreskin was of tonight's game. I don't know. I mean, I still don't have a great feeling on this game tonight, Remis. I feel great about what the Jets have done so far and how they've been able to hold Connor McDavid off the score sheet, and obviously the fact that they're up 2-0. But I certainly do expect a big, big push from Edmonton tonight, led by 97 and 29. And, much like the first two games, I imagine every square inch of ice is going to be contested. I really do think, I agree with JP. I think it'll be more of what we saw Friday night in Edmonton. But hey, the way the Winnipeg Jets have been doing that, they're poised to keep it rolling right now. And with a guy playing like Connor Hellebuck is in the pipes, it gives you a great chance to win. Because honestly, I thought Mike Smith, frankly, deserved a better fate on Friday, as I thought he was the best member of the Oilers that played in the game.
So Hellebuck, game 1 was his birthday. Game 2,
Yes.
he announced that his wife was pregnant or his girlfriend announced it on Instagram that they're expecting. Does he have any like special occasions for game 3 that can pump him up, or
Parents'
anything
20th anniversary.
Whose 20th?
His parents' 20th
Is
anniversary. No, I'm just searching for things that might be able to be. But yeah,
anything that we can get back, and anything that we can ride for to give us confidence in Hellebuck. So I may take him. I don't usually take him as like captain on Showdown, but I might have to. But you have to think, McDavid, 2 games without a point. Draisaitl, 2 games. That's not continuing. There's just no way. But I would have told you before the series, there's no way that for the first 2 games they have 0 points. So everything you thought about the Winnipeg Jets during the regular season, throw it out the window. They are a completely different team right now. They are playing different. They've known that it's I think that the experience for them, going through the series a couple of years ago and playing, going to the conference final and playing versus the Blues, being down 0-2 and crawling to come back and tie that series up before losing in a dramatic fashion in Game 5, which we won't forget about as much as we want to.
No,
we're gonna remember.
You got to learn from the Game 5s of the past and prevent them from happening
and the Oilers,
in the future.
I don't think they have that. And you see some guys. I mean, Mason Appleton coming in, bumping Mike Smith. Making it look like doing it intentionally, but making it look like an accident. That is those little things in the playoffs where if I'm an Oilers fan, I hate Mason Appleton. He did that on purpose. But if you're a Jets fan, you love that, and you love that they've found a different level to their game, which we didn't think was possible. So
I can't wait to see what that line looks like back with Kopp.
Yes.
Listen, and I love Kopp. What he's been able to do when he's moved up into the lineup has been very admirable. But the Jets are at their best when Andrew Kopp is playing with Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton on that third line. And obviously, they've got a lot of work ahead of them handling the likes of McDavid and Draisaitl, as did the Scheifele line. But when you have, and there's no offense to Matthew Perreault, I think played quite well, but Kopp, with the offense that he's added to his game and the way that they're able to control play, listen, they got to get things done first and foremost defensively, but I think that line is more potent offensively now with Kopp back with Appleton and Lowry.
For sure, and Perreault has done damage on the fourth line this year. There was some talk about, you got to keep Toninato in. We know how the Jets operate, union chop. So Perreault, he's a veteran. He's played all year. Toninato, you did great, but we got to move to the back of the line. And that game winning goal will always be remembered. But Perreault, I mean, he's just the guy who has to come out. It's unfortunate. I mean, you could say other guys deserve to play, but the Jets, I mean, you just look at their depth and then you compare it to the Oilers' depth at forward, and you're like, oh, well, we'll see how the matchups work out this evening.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, anyways, it is going to be a great sports watching day. PGA Championship coming up. Oh, Canada's got on the board. No shutout for Jake Ottinger. And then, of course, we'll drop the puck at about 6:30. Now, as I mentioned, I'll be joining John Shannon and Kelly Moore 4:30 today on the CJOB pregame show. And Remo, tomorrow's show is going to be fun. We'll probably grab another guest as well, but I think sort of the second half of tomorrow's show be a little bit of a collab with the Illegal Curve Boys, hoping to have both Ezzy and Drew with us on. And of course, be sure to check out IC on YouTube right after the game tonight. They'll go for an hour or so, then hand it over to Kenny and Rennie. The guys keeping up our YouTube team, keeping up the great content for Jet fans throughout the playoffs. And then the guys will come on tomorrow. We'll break down Game 3 and right back at it tomorrow. Remis getting ready for Game 4. And don't forget, that's a late one, 8:45. So might want to plan a nice, long, leisurely, long weekend nap if you have to work on Tuesday, so you'll be able to take in the entire game.
Yeah, I am very, very pumped for that 8:45 start. It's going to be great. Maybe we'll get overtime that goes on, a couple things. Then we'll see Kenny and Rennie, how late they really can go. I think they went till like 2 after the last one. So
well, I went on with them after one of the late games on, I believe it was a Saturday night or whatever day it was. And man, I think we were on the air till, I think I left at about 1:45 a.m. and I think they went for another 15 or 20 minutes. So everybody's grinding right now, but it's a hell of a lot of fun with the excitement around here, despite not being able to be in the building tonight. But fans will be remembered. The Whites are on all the chairs. There just won't be any butts in the seats, which of course is quite unfortunate, but is the way it is. Let's quickly hit the lines for Coolbet. Interesting to know that this is really a desperation do or die game for the Edmonton Oilers, and the Oilers are favored in this game tonight. Minus 128 Jets, plus 115 underdogs at home, despite being up 2-0. Avalanche, heavy favorites, minus 233 over the St. Louis Blues, and the Boston Bruins, minus 130 favorites on the road against the Washington Capitals. Capitals need that win to stave off elimination. They are plus 116 underdogs. And Remo, I guess right now they're underway in Music City, and the Preds with a 1-0 lead early on the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina, they were my pick. Nashville ended up winning the last one in overtime. Matt Duchene. Did you know he was still in the league, Huss? He's kind of signed that deal and disappeared. God. I mean, so he's fallen off quick.
16 million bucks invested in Johansson and Duchene per year, and that's been a big reason why elsewhere in their lineup, they've got great value, they've got awesome defense, they've got Roman Josi, one of the best in the league, but the center position just has not done it. Although they did get a win, we'll see what happens coming up tonight. Again, hockey throughout the afternoon, 6:30 p.m. We'll get going tonight at Bell MTS Place. And then we'll be back at it tomorrow, 1 p.m. for a Victoria Day edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Remo, great stuff today. Glad we did this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what else were we going to do? Sit at home and talk about the game and not stream it?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. Folks, thanks to everyone that joined us. Amazing turnout today on a little impromptu show. We really appreciate your support. If you're listening on a podcast, just go and rate and review. Give us a 5-star rating if you can. Make a little nice comment in there. That certainly helps. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're getting the from. And again, if you haven't already subscribed, hit that red subscribe button. Give us a like on the way out. Hit that thumbs up. And make sure to plan to join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Big thanks again to Not Autocorp, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Little Brown Jug, Assiniboia Downs, Coolbet.com, Breezy, Bend Country Club, and Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. Folks, enjoy the game tonight. Again, 4:30, if you want to tune in to CGOB, I'll be chopping it up with Kelly Moore and John Shannon about tonight's game. Nice. And then we'll back at it tomorrow, 1 o'clock here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily to get ready for Game 4 between the Jets and Oilers. Have a great rest of the afternoon and enjoy tonight's game. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.